Alright, quick intro if you're new here. I'm Josh Faulkner, stand-up comedian, professional wrestler of 15 years, and a man who will talk the ear off you about British wrestling venues. Today's video is a fun one. Where Madison Square Garden is commonly referred to as the world's most famous arena and was considered the home of WWE for many years, does British wrestling have an equivalent? Now, obviously, the UK doesn't have one single building that's the building for every era, because British wrestling's always been a touring culture. But we do have venues that feel like the Room, the places where careers were made, rivalries became legend, and the building itself adding the prestige before the bell even rings. This is my top 5 venues that stand up to Madison Square Garden in terms of history, key moments, and reputation. I'll be counting them down, and yes, I'm biased when we get to number 1, and I'll explain why when we get there. Quick one, if you like British wrestling history, opinions and stories from someone who's actually worked the circuit, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. We're starting our countdown up in the Potteries in Stoke-on-Trent, and coming in at number 5, it's the Victoria Hall, Hanley. Even if you've never attended a wrestling show here, if you're a fan with enough knowledge, you can feel the history in the place. It opened in 1888, so you're talking a proper old-school British entertainment venue that's hosted everything from music to boxing and, of course, wrestling over the decades. Here's why it earns a spot on this list. It's a venue that's always felt like a serious room, the kind of place where title matches and big nights belong. One standout example from the classic era is a double title night in December 1978, where Johnny Saint retained the world lightweight title against Steve Gray, and Marty Jones versus Pete Roberts ended in a no contest for the British light heavyweight title. To go back even further than that, the Victoria Hall saw the unmasking of Count Bartelli at the hands of Kendo Nagasaki in 1966. That's the thing with venues like the Victoria Hall. It isn't just a building that's hosted wrestling, it's a sort of place where the posters felt bigger, the crowds felt sharper, and the stakes felt real. Next up, Liverpool Stadium. Number 4 in our countdown is a proper Madison Square Garden pick because it wasn't just a place that hosted wrestling, it was a venue with myth around it. Liverpool Stadium was a purpose-built indoor arena that started life as a boxing venue with a capacity of around 3,700. It opened in 1932. Quirky fact that makes it feel legendary, it's one of those venues that hosted everything, including massive music acts. We're talking names like Led Zeppelin and Liverpool's own the Beatles having played there. That's not your local community hall with a ring in it, that's a building with cultural weight. On the wrestling side, Liverpool Stadium became a major venue for tournaments and big cards. Well, the last wrestling night at the stadium appears to have been in March 1984 when the bill was topped by world heavyweight champion John Quinn defending the title against a man that he deposed to take it, Wayne Bridges. Quinn emerged victorious, and that brought an end to a very special era in British wrestling. The shows put on at Liverpool Stadium have actually been credited with inspiring wrestling careers. The two most notable are Brian Dixon, who had been a referee and second at the stadium, as well as running the A to Z fan club before turning his hand to promoting and running his first show at the Liverpool Stadium in June 1977. The following year, in 1978, a 12-year-old boy attended Liverpool Stadium for the first time. The occasion was a one-night, 8-man knockout tournament for the vacant World Middleweight Championship. By the end of the night, John Cortez had been crowned champion, and Robert Brooks had been set on the road to becoming Robbie Brookside, a British wrestling star for the decades to come, and now a WWE NXT coach. It's one of those places where if you say Liverpool Stadium to the right fans, you don't need to explain further. Now, if British wrestling had sacred ground, the Bellevue is in that conversation. Weighing in at number 3, the King's Hall at Bellevue, Manchester, is one of those names that comes up again and again because it was basically a wrestling ecosystem. Decades of cards, tournaments, title matches, careers made, careers ended. Wrestling Heritage puts it perfectly. Over the years, just about every wrestler appeared there. Championships were contested, and the venue became a microcosm of British wrestling itself. Whether it's the 1930s with Jack Pye and Carver Doone through to its final show in December 1981 that featured Big Daddy, King Kong Kirk, Mark Rollerball Rocco, Alan Dennison, and Marty Jones. That's what makes it Madison Square Garden-like. It wasn't just big, it was important. Some buildings are famous because one huge event happened there. Bellevue is famous because wrestling lived there. If you grew up hearing older fans talk about venues with reverence, Bellevue is one of the ones that comes out like a proper badge of honor. Right, let's go upmarket for our runner-up. It's London's Royal Albert Hall. If Madison Square Garden is prestige, then the Royal Albert Hall is prestige with a suit on. This venue has the sort of we're doing something major tonight energy built into the walls, and it has one of the most surreal British wrestling facts of all time. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, attended a wrestling tournament at the Royal Albert Hall on the 22nd of May 1963. The Duke was invited by Dale Martin's Promotions, with the show raising 10 grand for the Duke of Edinburgh award scheme. The Duke himself actually presented a trophy to Tibor Zakash after his victory over John Da Silva. 63 years on, and that is insane. That's not wrestling at the leisure centre, that's wrestling being treated like a national event. And then, decades later, you get the modern link. WWE ran Battle at the Royal Albert Hall event on the 3rd of October 1991. One of those classic early Sky era moments that older UK fans remember as the time the WWE felt truly here. So you've got royalty in the 60s, America in the early 90s, and that is why the Royal Albert Hall is on the list. It's not just history, it's status. And now my biased pick for number one, but I'm going to justify it. It's the Fairfield Halls, Croydon. This is British wrestling's version of The Room. It's not just famous, it's wrestling famous. The venue was used for British professional wrestling for years, and even to the current day, with cards featured heavily on ITV's coverage of professional wrestling in the 70s and 80s. It became a major showcase venue for all-star wrestling. And here's a genuinely brilliant nerdy venue detail. The Fairfield Hall's stage was mechanically lowered to floor level for the wrestling, with extra ringside seating being put in, meaning the building was literally transformed for the wrestling shows. That's the kind of thing that turns a venue into a home. It's also been a cornerstone venue for certain legends. For example, the Fairfield Hall's own website notes Kendo Nagasaki appeared there more than 200 times, which tells you everything about how deeply wrestling is woven into that building. Now, here's the personal bit, and the reason the Fairfield Halls is my number one. I had my very first professional match there, working for Brian Dixon's All-Star Wrestling back in January 2011, and I grew up going to shows there. So when I say Fairfield Halls feels like British wrestling's Madison Square Garden, I mean it in two ways. Number one, historically, it's genuinely one of the most important wrestling venues of the TV era. And number two, emotionally, it's a place where you can feel generations of fans and wrestlers overlapping. Some venues are iconic because they look impressive. Fairfield Halls is iconic because it's got wrestling in the walls. So, those are my five: Victoria Hall Hanley, Liverpool Stadium, Kings Hall Bellevue, Royal Albert Hall, and Fairfield Halls Croydon at number one. Now, I want yours. What's your British wrestling Madison Square Garden? Is it one of those, or is there another venue I've missed that deserves a spot? Drop it in the comments, and if you've enjoyed this, like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.